rivalries. There'll be a different baseball guest every Thursday night. You can be watching us right now at fancredsports.com/on-air or on the app, which is live. If you're on the app, you can always go into the right top corner and click the fan line. That'll put you in a virtual green screen room with our producer, and then you can jump on, ask John or I any questions that you have in the realm of baseball or elsewhere. And as I mentioned, each Thursday we're going to have a new guest. And this Thursday, I couldn't be more excited to have Ryan Dempster, who will be joining us. Dempster, who had, 16 years in the majors? 16 years in the majors. World Series champ with the 2013 Red Sox, a team that I was lucky enough to be a reporter for. But first, before we get to Dempster, John, what do you remember most about that 2013 Red Sox team?
Well, they had a lot of fun. I know that. They had a lot of fun guys on that team. Obviously, your husband was on that team. He's a very nice fellow. They had some really outgoing, outlandish guys on the team, though. And they put it all together at the right time. I remember Ben Cherington signed a whole bunch of guys who were considered kind of mid-range guys, not superstars, good players for reasonable contracts. And they all meshed together with Napoli, Drew, Dempster, and many, many others. I think they signed 7 guys, and basically all 7 of them worked out and helped this team that had finished last the year before, I believe, come back and win the World Series in 2013. Third time the Red Sox had done that in a 10-year period, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, that was absolutely a special year. Not only did I, as you mentioned, meet my husband, but to win a World Series, I mean, that was something fun to watch, and I had a front row seat for the entire thing. So I think it's time now. I believe that Dempster is on the fan line. So Dempster, if you are there. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more Red Sox. So before we get Dempster onto our show, right now, I'm going to check the score of the game right now because Red Sox Yankees are live. And this is something that we're going to be talking to Dempster about, is about that rivalry, because everyone knows that that's, the biggest rivalry in baseball. I think that's safe to say. And there's been a few years where it's gone back and forth a little bit, but this year in particular, I mean, these are 2 powerhouse teams. The Red Sox looking to clinch the AL East title, but they haven't been able to do it against the Yankees. Right now, the Sox are up 3-0 at the top of the second. What have you seen over the last 2 nights? And I know you're not watching the game right now, but what have you seen from this Yankees team?
Well, good signs from the pitching. Tanaka hasn't been spectacular tonight, but he'd been good in his 3 previous starts. Happ has looked fantastic. To me, he's got to start the wild card game. I think he's been absolutely terrific. No team is perfect. These are 2 out of the best 3 teams in baseball. I know we're focused on them. We're focused on the rivalry. Houston, awfully good right now. But it is great to see a Yankee team that's going to win. It's over 90 wins. They're probably not going to get to 100. We've got the Red Sox. They're certainly going to get well past 100. So it's pretty interesting. One thing about Dempster that I think is interesting, not only part of the Red Sox-Yankee rivalry, but now part of the Cub-Cardinal rivalry, and has been for a long time. He's Cub as a player for nearly a decade, and a very productive player as a closer and as a starter, and now in their front office. So he's got a different perspective. He knows that rivalry even better, probably.
And it's time now to welcome in Ryan Dempster, 16 years in the major leagues, 2-time All-Star, World Series champion, that 2013 Red Sox team. Ryan, thank you for joining us here on the fan line.
Wow.
Hi!
Hey, Jenny. Hey, congratulations to you and Will.
Thank
That's
you.
super awesome.
We're almost 9 months pregnant right now, so yeah.
John, look at you over there. You look handsome tonight. What's going on, guys?
I love that jacket. Ryan Dempster, not only my favorite colleague at MLB Network, he is the best dresser. I just look up to him. I thought Harold was pretty good, but when he came on, I mean, he sets the trend. He's amazing. How about that red? It's kind of reddish jacket he's got on now. It's fantastic. And I think he has a son who emulates him and almost as good a dresser.
It's purple.
Purple.
It's
okay.
purple.
Well, I'm colorblind.
Purple with navy. Yeah, but like a light purple, like an autumn.
Ooh, beautiful.
September. Hey, by the way, I'm sorry I'm bouncing around. I'm on a ride to Brooklyn right now. I just left Yankee Stadium.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, we're definitely gonna get into Red Sox Yankees in a moment, but first I want to talk a little bit about 2013. Telling John how lucky I was to have a front row seat to watch that season unfold. But what, in your opinion?
No kidding. I'm glad that you know that you're.
Oh, I know. Trust me,
you didn't have to make any errors, and you never gave up any of those homers. But it was awesome to have you around and be a part of it all, and super cool. And yeah, what a year that was. It was so.
What made that team so special?
I think just the fact that we really kind of just set a tone early in spring training that we weren't going to be intimidated by anybody, and really truly nobody else really mattered. It was just us having fun and playing baseball and pushing each other to do the best we could. And then we have the unfortunate bombing on April 15th, and after that, it was we were unstoppable because we had an entire city behind us. Everybody, every single person, bellhops at the Hotel Commonwealth, to the bartenders at the Capitol Grill, to the entire restaurant industry and bar industry and everything, the community. It was amazing. It was the most incredible experience ever.
How about the rivalries? Now, you've been a part of the St. Louis-Chicago rivalry for a long time now, more than a decade, so you know that rivalry pretty well. How did the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry differ? You were only there for a year, but it was obviously a pretty intense year. You were involved in some of the episodes, I believe, but certainly ended nicely for the Red Sox. But how do the rivalries differ?
Yeah, you're right. I was involved in a lot of the episodes. The early 2-1 start on opening day at Yankee Stadium, that was heated. That was a tough time, but there's nothing like a Yankee-Red Sox rivalry. Nothing. The Cubs and the Cardinals is, to me, the most respected rivalry in baseball. You talk about fans who appreciate other fans. St. Louis Cardinal fans can be very, very great, and so in Chicago fans are great. Cub fans, Chicago fans are both awesome. So they appreciate good baseball. I think Cardinal fans really, really. In 1998, I'll tell this story.
I'm here.
What happened to Jenny? Where did she go?
Yeah,
I see her.
Oh, you're here. Now you're like a picture of a dude with a haircut.
I see Jenny.
On the side.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, you do? Okay, it's just me. No, it's so I'm with the 98 Marlins, and Mark Kotze makes this great diving catch. And he runs in, and all the Cardinal fans cheered for him for making that catch.
That's nice.
I thought it was really awesome. And I think that's and Cub fans, and it's a respected rivalry. They want to win. The Cardinal fans are happy. Well, maybe some of them aren't, but they're happy that they won finally. And the Cubs fans appreciate going down there. It's blue and red throughout the entire ballpark the whole time. It's a really unique baseball rivalry. It's really cool. It's really
rivalry is a
rivalry.
Tough word. It's a
Have
tough
you
word.
noticed that? It's like rivalry.
No, you've done it well. You've got it right most of the time. What about the Yankees fans? Aren't they wonderful human beings as well?
Yes, I had a great time tonight with 2 or 3 of them.
They're intense.
Those 2 or 3 Yankee fans were so nice.
How does that rivalry differ? The Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, the intensity of it, what makes that so different? And were you prepared to be, thrown into that situation?
A little bit, because I played as a visiting player in Boston, and then I played as a visiting player in New York at the Yankees. So I kind of understood their home fans. To me, I don't know, maybe I was too aware sometimes when I played. Sorry. Maybe I paid attention to stuff I shouldn't have been paying attention to, and I should have just played. But I always appreciated all the atmosphere. I remember going to Wrigley Field and running out to Wrigley Field and going, oh yeah, I want to play here one day. These fans are awesome. I appreciated it. And so now all of a sudden when you're in it, it was intense. That's a great word, Jenny. It was very intense. It was very, we got to win 2 of the 3 games in our home park for sure. You can't come in here and do that. And a sweep was out of the question. You better do dishes before you pay your check when you leave out of here. That's, it was just a different mentality. But it was so much fun and so cool to be a part of, especially maybe later in my career to go through all that. Like it was
Now,
phenomenal.
the playoff run was fantastic. Obviously, the World Series against St. Louis, that came out just as you expected. But I do want to ask you about one memorable moment in 2013, and I think you were cheered very, very heartily by Red Sox fans and by most of the fans around baseball at this moment. Alex Rodriguez had just come back from his suspension, I think, so he wasn't exactly beloved. And I think you threw it. You're known for having great control, but you threw one behind him, and then you kind of hit him once. He didn't overreact, I don't think. He kind of took his medicine. He probably knows he had something coming to him. But what do you recall from that episode?
Well, it's always important to preface it sometimes a certain incident. I was in Vancouver. Actually, I was in Gibsons, British Columbia, my hometown, when I signed with the Red Sox. And I was hanging out with my brothers. And my brother Travis, he's really got a great sense of humor, and he also understands life. And he's like, you know what would be really awesome is if the first time you ever face A-Rod in Fenway Park.
Travis is behind this. It's like Travis.
No, right? Like,
he should have taken that suspension.
That is a great, as a Red Sox player, that's a good move. And he goes, and his reason, I go, well, why would I do that? He goes, because you'll never have to pay for a beer.
True.
Oh my God, is that true?
Yes, 100%.
Well, it worked out.
But then, like, you know, and then everything else kind of just strangely, oddly, it was a very prolific moment or profound moment when it happened. Prolific was something else. But a very profound moment at the time that all the other stuff started to take place and all that stuff. But, I wasn't trying to play judge, jury, or, you know, who's right or wrong. I was just doing something in the moment that I really strongly believed in. And I believed in our team, and I believed in the fact that didn't matter to anybody. And I thought it proved right. I went to Yankee Stadium shortly after my suspension finished, and this reporter came over to my locker, and he was a very nice gentleman. He said, you know, Ryan, ever since you hit A-Rod, the Yankees have the second best record in baseball. And I was like, whoa, yeah. Like, whoa, man, I really stirred up some stuff here. Well, then, excuse me, sir, who has the first best record? And he said, well, you guys. And I was like, okay, thanks. Is there any other
Very good. You should be a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Very good. It made your point.
Right?
I think it helped your team, and now we've uncovered the whole thing behind it. It's all Travis. Travis was behind it.
Yeah, it's Travis. That's Travis. That's all on Travis, and that's okay.
Other than obviously the World Series run, do you have a particular moment that sticks out from that 2013 season that was your favorite? I mean, it's easy to sit here and say winning the World Series, and what else? What else is there?
When we came back from Cleveland and we played at Fenway Park, we got our game canceled, and because they still hadn't caught the guy they caught one of them, but they hadn't caught him. And I just remember like being in the locker room that day of that game with so many people who were doing, like, it's admiration, right? Like, people admire baseball players and they admire other athletes and musicians and entertainers because we see them all the time. Sometimes we forget to admire doctors who do brain surgery or doctors who do certain things or people who help people on a regular basis. And here was all of these people in this locker room, which was it was incredible. It was insane. It was unbelievable. Head of the FBI, the governor, the mayor, head of the chief of police, multiple task force agents, special service, Secret Service, special forces, everything. Now, here we are, a group of baseball players who everybody admires. Mm-hmm. We all admire them. We all are admiring what they've done and how they've gone about it, and in time, like a terrible time of tragedy and all this stuff. And then now we feel unstoppable because we look up to them and we feel like we can play this super small part in something that's way bigger, and that's bringing back a city from some tragedy. And it was the most amazing day for me because it was like, I just remember it. Like, I remember Johnny Gomes going out and telling the grounds crew guy in Fenway Park on the Green Monster, they have little like things that you unhook and hook, and then you hang on who's in first place in the standings. And Johnny told our grounds crew guy to just paint our team on the top because we were going to be in first place the rest of the year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't only that game. I remember that game in particular, but it was every single game after that leading up to the World Series. The Red Sox would bring in a first responder or a family who was deeply affected, and you were playing for them. That's the feeling that I got, is that the Red Sox team that year was playing for each and every person that was personally affected by the tragedy that happened in Boston. And like you said, it was unstoppable. It made that team unstoppable. We have a couple comments and questions in our comments. First, Caw Hockey in our comments wants to know, what was your favorite part about Boston?
Wow. I loved the closeness of it. Like, I felt like we lived on Commonwealth and Mass Ave, just kind of stumbling distance from the corner bar down there, downstairs. And and then I was also walking distance to work, and I could walk to the North End, and I could walk other places, and I could.
Yeah, we got you.
Did you guys still got me? Okay. And I could walk to all these places, and I could do all, and it was nice. Like, I got a car when I got to Boston, and then I sold it and had 240 miles on it. And we went to Cape Ann and the Cod.
Oh,
so,
that's funny. That's funny. You know what? I remember the celebration was really lovely. I thought it was fantastic. Everyone was very appreciative of winning. You know, a lot of times you go to a celebration, it's a team that's expected to win, and I don't think anybody really expected this team to win. And to do it under those circumstances, just fantastic. But let's go on to this year. Obviously, you have your allegiance now with the Cubs. You work.
Thanks, John. Thank
you. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
Now you're with the Cubs. You have an allegiance to the Cubs, but you have a view. Obviously, working at MLB Network, you follow all the teams. The American League's got 3 powerhouses. How do you see this going in the American League right now? You know, there are no perfect teams, but some are closer than others to perfection, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think everybody's super special in their own right. And I think that maybe that's the one thing I learned since winning is we don't know that other team's story ever. Like, I'm sure the St. Louis Cardinals had their own story that was like really incredible in 2013, truly. And so it's so hard to really know who's going to win at the end and to predict who's going to win and who's going to be the best team. And I know that there's really good teams. Like, I just finished watching the first 2 innings of the Yankee Red Sox game, or the first inning and a half. And those are like really talented baseball players, like on both sides, great ball clubs. Like the Boston Red Sox are so good. You know, they're really, really well put together. They have a great manager. They have a really good pitching coach. I won't call Dana great yet. He can be good right now because it's his first year doing it. But he's a great bullpen coach, you know. But he's just learning how to be a pitching coach. And, you know, Aaron Boone and his players, and, you know, Larry Rothschild's still the pitching coach. This is a wise man who knows how to get pitchers to do the right thing. I had him. I've been around it. Like, and then the Houston Astros, right now they're the team to beat. And that should be the headline, right? Like, truly, like, nobody else should be the team to beat other than them because they have the trophy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So somebody has to be. So to say anybody else is the team to beat.
What about the Cubs? What about the Cubs? Where do you guys stand? Obviously, Morrow is a huge loss. Stroke is a concern. I know you pitched in the WBC fairly recently. I don't know if you want to try to suit up. I don't know, but. What are you guys going to do about that bullpen? And your team is the best in the National League by the record right now. I mean, you've done a fantastic job again, you and Theo.
Me and Theo, thanks. I really appreciate that comment. I do Theo's dry cleaning. I clean his car. And by the way, when you talk about it, there's a better chance of them getting outs with Brandon Morrow and Pedro Strop.
Okay, well, I saw you pitching the WBC, so I don't know. You were out there and you were throwing pretty good. I mean,
thank you. No, you know what? I look at it this way: like, same way. There's a lot of really good teams, but somebody said to me the other day, and I thought it was a really interesting way. They're like, "What's wrong with the Cubs?" And I was like, I just was like taken kind of aback. I'm like, "What do you mean? What's wrong with the Cubs?" And like a little bit like also defensive, but I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna hear this guy out." And he goes, "Well, what's wrong? Like, we're not, we got to get it going." I'm like, "Okay, so sir, there's 15 teams in the American League, and there's 15 teams in the National League. And of all of the teams in the National League, out of the 15 of those teams, they have the best records. So to me right now, they seem like the best team, logically. And that's honestly how I try to simplify it. And I know the Dodgers are playing great right now. They just had a huge series, and they're dangerous, right? They got a great team. St. Louis and Milwaukee. Like, you watch Josh Hader pitch? Like, holy cow. Like, I might get fired, but if I was every inning,
I think you might get
tough to hit. He looks tough to hit.
All of them. Just keep going, Josh. Just keep going. No, like, there's a lot of really good teams, but I think right now, like, the Cubs have proven they've been in the playoffs, and I think that those guys have proven that they know what to do in that situation. The Dodgers have been NLCS in the World Series the last two. They flip-flopped, but there's always somebody biting at the heels. There's always somebody chasing you, and like, it's hard not to get content, and you can't be content. You got to be game on every pitch. Like a Boston guy. I always thought this, and it was you talk about cool moments in Boston. I played against him again a bunch. But to watch Dustin Pedroia, for anybody out there, for a Boston Red Sox fan, I know he's not going to play the rest of this year, and that's okay because he really wanted to play, but he's not going to play. But go to a game, and when everything's going on, and they're showing this thing on the Jumbotron, and people are selling cotton candy, and there's people talking to people on their cell phones, and there's all this noise, and there's a pitch getting ready to be made, and you want to watch that pitcher pitch, and you want to hit this home. Watch Dustin Pedroia when that pitch gets ready to be delivered, and watch him jump up and be ready for that pitch. And that is just like one of the most amazing things you will see. He never leaves anything to chance. He doesn't ever sit there and say, "I'm not going to be ready. I'm not going to be focused on this play." And if you have 25 guys on your team doing that, you'll win. That's just what's going to happen because they're all too talented. I watched them take BP today. I watched them take ground balls. I saw them throw bullpens, and I watched them pitch. They're too talented that when all that meshes together, whatever team does that the best and takes the least amount of plays off collectively as a unit.
You just mentioned Pedroia. James in the comments wants to know which guy was most memorable from that 2013 team as the glue guy, or maybe a wild card, if you want to put it that way.
Oh, God, I don't know. Jack was pretty awesome, but I would say the glue guy on that team. Yeah. No, yeah, like he really was. He was so good. I remember the first day of pitchers and catchers in spring training. And so all of the teams have showed up, or all the guys have showed up on the team, and we're sitting there, and Johnny came in through the double doors or the door or whatever it was into his locker, and I just said, "How you doing today, Johnny?" And he said, "Just another day closer to the parade." Man.
He's a character. He is a character.
And I just thought it was so great. And I was like, "We're going with that, huh?" And he goes, "Yep." And it was just, Jake Peavy getting traded over and coming in the locker room and like four guys, and I had a locker next to him, and four guys asked him what color duck boat he was going to get.
Then he bought a duck boat.
And then he bought one, which I thought was really awesome, but that's that's how it was. And Johnny festered that mentality in each and every person so much, not just players, trainers, Esau, the lovely gentleman that would cook us dinner in the kitchen, like those, everybody, Billy in the video room to Jared and Cundy and everybody, the Bat Boys, ragging them for being Bat Boys, and 2 minutes later, because they're grown men, by the way, not because they should have had Batman on the back. And Cundy's still doing it, but and he just festered that in everybody around him. Believe it. That's how it's going to go. Like, this is how it's going to be, and there's no other choice for it to be but this way. It was really awesome.
Now, I know you said that you handle Theo's dry cleaning, and if there's anybody who would handle my dry cleaning, it would be
Light Start.
you, because nobody knows clothes that I know like you. So I understand that. But I know you have a great show off the mound that you do, which I've seen clips of it. It's fantastic, of course, because this is the most entertaining guy that I work with, no doubt, hands down. Tell us a little bit about that show, and really, what do you do? I mean, unless it's top secret and you can't say, what do you do for the Cubs?
So off the mound was kind of an idea that kind of had been in my head for a while, and I always wanted to humanize the player. I wanted that player to we put people on a pedestal all the time because of what they do. And sometimes not for who they are and who those guys are in their locker room. There's so many guys that are great human beings, people doing charity work that is off the charts, like a guy like Anthony Rizzo. Not just money, time, everything, effort into bettering people's lives. And there's so many of those people. And that's just one guy I know of. So many, Sean Casey and, Ozzie Guillen with the Guillen Foundation and Kerry Wood and his wife, Sarah. And, so I decided to have this show off the mound. I do a Cubs convention late night style talk show every year, and it's incredible. And it's a lot of fun. You get to see these guys on a personal level and not about their launch angle or how they felt that day at the plate or what pitch was working for them on the mound or how they feel about chasing the next team down in front of them, just like human beings and who they are. And so we decided to do this show at the Vic Theater in Chicago, and we kind of based it. As a kid, I grew up loving Johnny Carson. My dad and I would watch late night and watch Johnny Carson and take these actors and actresses and, musicians and these different people and have them tell stories about not the song they played, but, about changing their granddaughter's diaper. And that was what it was all about. And we had so much fun. And it was just an absolute blast to do it. And the stories that were told were Sean Casey. 25 minutes of totally, completely worth the price of admission alone. I mean, it was amazing what he was talking about when he was in third. That's the first story he had to tell on the bus ride in front of the whole team when he was a rookie. And he shared that with all these people in this room. And it was so great and a lot of fun. And Kerry Wood, talking about who did or didn't break Sammy's boombox, who did break it? That's just a really fun thing to do. And then, I'm not speaking for Woody because he wouldn't speak and necessarily say that he did it without saying that he did it, without insinuating that he did it, but never really said that he did it, So it was a lot of fun. And Anthony Rizzo got up and did karaoke in front of 650 people at the Vic Theater. I'm nervous.
You sing too. I think you're a piano man singer, right? I mean, I think Billy Joel is probably going to keep his job, but you could be part of a cover group or something.
Yeah, you
not
bad. Yeah, maybe a backup singer. So yeah, it was a great show, and we had a blast, and we saw the personal side of these guys, and we raised a ton of money for $65,000 for CPS Score, which is an after-school sports program for Chicago public schools kids who couldn't necessarily ever even afford the opportunity or the cost to be able to do it. And it was a blast, and we had so much fun, and people laughed and cried from laughing, and I hope to do it again. And it's a lot of fun. And I'm not plugging it, but if you guys want to check it out, you can go to Twitter at Off the Mound, and it has a little link to the preview of the upcoming show that we're putting together to show it all to everybody, because I really wouldn't want people to miss Sean Casey talking about Ken Griffey Jr.'s Clippers. It's really
I'm sure it is very entertaining. The clips I've seen, and he is an entertaining guy. But you didn't still haven't said what you do for the Cubs. I'm going to assume that's top secret, right? Well, you know what? It is much cleaner there than it used to be. I will say that. I think that might have something to do with all the refurbishing, but maybe the janitor's doing a better job as well. So congratulations.
Yeah, a ground guy goes
I believe it.
In.
We were just talking about rivalries, obviously the word that we all love to say. Red Sox, Yankees playing right now. A question for you as a pitcher. You look at David Price and what has happened to him at Yankee Stadium, and you question if that's a mental thing or it just happens. He's 0-6 at Yankee Stadium. ERA is a 9.79. how do you explain numbers like that when he has been so good? I mean, obviously after All-Star, he's done a lot better, but there's something about that place that's just doesn't work well for him.
Yeah. You know,
sorry.
that's a tough question, Jenny.
I'm supposed to ask the tough questions.
No, my bad.
Yeah. No, but you know what? I can't speak for David Price. I can speak for me. And I was there today, and I was down there early today. I got there at 2:00 today, and I watched David Price working before anybody else worked. Before anybody else was out on the field, he was out throwing, he was running, he was doing what he needed to do. And so, to me, I remember being that guy. I remember going to Arizona and just being like, "Oh, this sucks." Like, but yet, Stade Olympique in Montreal, like. Who wants to go out tonight? Aren't you pitching tomorrow? It's W. Got it. In the bag. Already winning. I know I'm going to win. I'll throw underhand tomorrow. They're all going to roll over.
Well, it's a Canadian thing.
And I really believe that. And we can sit there and say that it's not. But the truth is, David Price he's a badass, man. He's gone through a lot. He tried to live up to a huge contract, and he's come there. And he's bounced back, and he's pitching great, terrific. Like, and he just struggles at Yankee Stadium. And we all have our stadiums that we struggle at. I've been at Colorado, 4 2/3, nobody on, 2 out. Check it out. Baseball Reference it. It was ridiculous. I hated the place. 4 2/3. I'm 1 out away of saying my asthma's really bad and I need to come out of the game. Like, hey, Skip, I know I only got 53 pitches, but the high altitude, and I'm really worn out. Like, and I hit Juan Pierre on his jersey on a 1-2 fastball, and next thing I know, it's 9-5. 9-5. I never got out of it. There's something there, and I just think, like, pitching at Fenway, he'll do great there, and maybe they face them, maybe they don't. Maybe they face Oakland. We don't know. But there's something about Yankee Stadium, and it'll take something. He just has to believe it because he's so good. He's so talented. And he's so great. And he pitches great in other places, and he pitches great at Fenway Park, and he'll have to figure out what it is. The first 3 guys, I don't know. Maybe that'll scare them. Maybe they'll just be scared, and they'll just like, David's really mad today. Maybe that.
I got a quick. You get a 2-word answer to this one. You've mentioned a couple of times Canadian. Who's the greatest Canadian player of all time? Larry Walker.
What
about Joey Votto? Close. Okay.
Yeah, he's on his way there. For sure. 100%.
Fair enough. Yeah. You're in the top 10, though, right? I didn't know you were in there. You're in. Very modest. You're very modest, and I still can't believe you're one of 3 players that I know of who actually walked away from a contract. Jojima, the catcher, Japanese catcher, Gilmesh, because I keep track of these things that don't mean anything to anybody else, and you had 1 year to go, and you announced at spring training or before sometime, I think you decided you weren't going to play that year, and then you retired at the end of the year. I mean, was that a hard one? I mean, not many people would do that. It takes a special person to do that.
Yeah, I got one look at those taxes they were taking out, and I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Move to Florida.
No, to be honest, good point, or Texas or Las Vegas or Washington. I'm sure there'll be a bunch more later. But I just think it was a really hard year for me physically, mentally to go through all that. And I just wanted to be near my kids and be at home and heal myself up and just kind of get into a good spot. And I felt like the right thing to do was let the Boston Red Sox spend that money on somebody else that could help them out. And I got to win a World Series there. I got treated so great there. I played 1 year in Boston. I feel like I played 10.
It's an experience.
The front office. It really was. And given the year that I got to play there, it was so special. So it was the least I can do. And as my dad always likes to say, he always tries to do the least he can do.
Great.
So, no, it really hard for sure, but the right.
I have an easy question for you right now. After that last one, Christopher Casilli in our comments said, "What time did you go to bed after Game 6? Were you playing on the field till wee hours of the morning?" I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll let you go for it.
I was that was fun.
We're not going to get an answer to that, and what he does for the Cubs, we're never going to find out.
No, well, I mean that night was on social media. You know what was really cool? So we went and celebrated in Game On, which was underneath the left field corner there, and then coming back out, I had my mom and dad and Kelly and I had my brother and his sister, my sister-in-law, his wife, and not his sister's not his wife, she's my sister-in-law, but I mean we're from a small town in Canada, but not that small. But my aunt and uncle and my wife's cousin and my best friend, we had all these people. So I was like, hey, we should go get pictures. The lights were still on. I'm like, this would be great. Let's go get pictures. This would be so awesome. And so we got down there, and then I just started, we were taking pictures and we were having fun. And then Michael Malley was down there with some of his friends. And I just kind of had this feeling of like, this would be really fun if I threw BP to my family at Fenway Park. And so I ran down inside and I grabbed a bucket of balls and Pedroia's bat, which I don't know if he did. Still, to me, I tell everybody he totally, he used it. Yeah, game 6, but I don't really know if he did or didn't. And I ran out there and John Henry was speaking to security there. And I just said, hey, John, and I gave him a hug and we were talking about winning the World Series. And I just said, I don't know if you want to stay for this, but I promise nobody will sue. And so he was like, have a good night. And he left. And I threw BP for like 45 minutes. And yeah, like, you know, my aunt liked me, like huge singles up the middle. Yeah, fitting for Pedroia's bat, like a line drive bat.
Very athletic family.
It was awesome.
I think.
Yeah, a family of slow pitch softball players. You can tell by my friends.
I ended up at some donut shop at 6 a.m. So I don't know.
Yeah, I went to breakfast at MIT at like 8 whenever they open.
And then the night after that, David Ortiz had the whole team over to the house for Halloween, and everyone
huge party. Every year his round his parties got bigger and bigger. We were like, what are you gonna do? Hot air balloon rides next? What's next? Do we get to ride? Are there elephants coming we can ride?
That was it. Will says hello, by the way. He was.
Hey, Will, I hope your ankle's
Ryan says, hope your ankle's feeling better. He says thanks.
Congratulations on having a baby, Jenny.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, a little baby girl Middlebrooks is coming soon. Who would have thunk it?
Nice.
Who would have thunk it?
Yes. Yeah, Ryan is.
And that is actually that was on the list. It was on the list. That is not.
Yeah. And then you were like, and then you guys were like, no, we can't name her after him.
It's a good name. It's a good name. Well, tell your whole family that we said hello, and we can't thank you enough for joining us here on Fan Cred. You are the best. Absolutely.
I agree.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Have a great night. I'm going to go
enjoy
have dinner with a good friend. So.
All right, Ryan.
Thanks for staying overtime. Right. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Oh. Can everyone just be like? Why can't every player be like him?
Well, he's just got a great personality, and I maybe it's me. I can't get over giving up that $14 million or whatever he just gave up, and he still smiles about it to this day like it's nothing. And just a great guy. He figured Boston could use it better elsewhere, and that's why he did it.
That's a pretty special person right there, and we got some good scoop on the rivalries going on in baseball right now. So.
Yep. He was very good. I liked it. And we found out exactly why he drilled A-Rod. It was his brother, Travis.
All Travis.
I had not heard that story before.
I haven't either. I think that's breaking news right there.
Yeah, well, it made Ryan Dempster the most popular man in the game at that point. But A-Rod has made a big comeback, and now he's popular. So it's all good.
It is all good. Well, John, this has been fun. Thank you for all of your questions and your insight, and look forward to seeing who's next week on Baseball Rivals Live.
Terrific. Thanks, Jenny. See you later.
Happy Thursday.